So dear students, so today our topic is pharmacology of anticoagulants. So already you know regarding the importance of coagulations or coagulants or process of blood coagulations. If it is excess, then it was responsible for formations of the clot inside the blood vessels, maybe arteries, maybe veins, maybe capillary. So due to formations of clot inside the blood vessel, so that can create the problem regarding the supply of the blood or transport of the nutrition oxygen. So due to that, the various disorders occur, especially the serious disorders occurs. So those are treated a group of medications or agents, and such drugs are known as a anticoagulants. Okay, so their main aim is to they can inhibit the blood clot, then they can clear the passage of the blood towards the organ, then so they are helpful for the treatment of the various disorders. So regarding the definition, so these are the drugs or agents which can inhibit the process of coagulations of blood or clot. Okay, so anticoagulants, so they are mainly used to prevent the formation or growth of the fibrin or erythrocyte thrombi in the venous circulations. It means the anticoagulants, so they are helpful for to inhibit the formations of the thrombi or formations of the clot only in the venous circulations, not in the arterial circulations. Okay, so the meaning is, so they are only to inhibit the growth of fibrins or thrombin only in venous circulation, not in a arterial circulation. It indicates the anticoagulants, so they are treat the only thrombi, so those are formed or deposited in the venous circulation, but these drugs they do not avoid the formations of thrombi in the arterial systems or arterial circulations, because in arterial circulation, so that thrombi is formed due to platelet aggregations. Okay, and here, so these coagulants are anticoagulants, they do not have any role on the platelet aggregations only, so they are inhibit or inactivate the, so whatever the coagulation factors, so they are involved in the formations of the blood clot. So that's why the anticoagulants, so they are commonly employed for the treatment of the thrombi in the venous circulations, or they can prevent a thrombi only in the venous circulations, but so they are fail to treat the thrombi or to remove the thrombi formation from the arterial circulations. Only one reason is, so in the arterial circulation the platelet aggregations, so they are involved in the blood clot or formations of the fibrin clot or thrombi. So that's why, so whatever the thrombi, so they are deposited formed in the arterial circulation, so that was treated with the help of the antiplatelet agents. Okay, so like the prostacyclin or clopidogrels, or even that is the aspirin from the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. So that aspirin commonly used as a anticoagulant. Okay, where they also help for treatment of the, to avoid the coagulation process in the arterial also, because aspirin it will be inhibit the platelet aggregations. But whatever the today we learn regarding the anticoagulants commonly, so they do not treat the coagulations process in the arterioles, only they can helpful for the treatment of the that is the coagulation process in the venous circulation. So due to this reason, so these anticoagulant drugs, so they are mainly employed or treat the treatment of the VTE, that is the venous thromboembolism. So due to formations of blood clot or thrombi in the venous, so in the particular place the fluid can be accumulated, or due to formations of clot the venous passage can be altered, the blood cannot be move freely due to formations of the clot. So here the circulation was decreases in the venous, So that condition was known as a VTE or venous thromboembolism. So here the fluid is deposited. So due to formations of the clot in the venous, so that was treated or removed with the help of the anticoagulants. So these anticoagulants, so they inhibit the process of the coagulations here. Then day by day, so they clear the formations of thrombi, or they remove the, that is the thrombi, from the circulation. So that was helpful for to improve the blood circulations. And anticoagulants, so they are also commonly employed for treatment of the deep vein thrombosis, that is also written as the DVT. Okay, so that is in the deep veins due to any abnormalities or entry of free radicals or any stress, so where also the blood coagulations can occur. So due to that the leg can be swelled, or due to that the organ can be swelled. So due to that the organ do not got the sufficient circulation. So due to only the formations of the clot in the deep vein, so that condition was known as a DVT. So that is also treated with the help of the anticoagulants. So another use of these drug is commonly employed for the treatment of the pulmonary embolism. It is denoted as a PE. So due to formations of small clot, so that blood can enters in the lungs. So where they are deposited in the capillaries, so those capillaries they supplied oxygenated blood are involved in the oxygenation process in the alveoli or around the alveoli. So where due to clot the pulmonary embolism is occurs, or accumulations of fluid in the lungs can be occurs. So that was also treated with the help of the anticoagulants. And also, so these drugs are commonly employed for the treatment of the myocardial infarctions. So that is the formations of certain clot in the myocardium. So that is responsible for to cause of the heart failure or to cause of the cardiac arrhythmia or atrial flutter due to only any clots if that can formed in the myocardium. So this clot can create the passage of the impulses from SA node to AV node that can be altered due to only clot here. If there is no clot means easily the impulses from SA node to AV node, their pathway they can be reaches. If any clot in the myocardium, so that was known as the myocardial infarction. So on that time few impulses they are reaches to AV node, then AV node responsible to cause of the contractions of artery, then passage of impulses to the ventricle. So then the ventricles are contracted, and few impulses due to myocardial infarction they can take the extra diversions. So due to extra diversion, once again, so they reaches to the AV node, once again artery can be contracted, once again ventricle can contracted. So due to that the heart rate was increases more than the 150. So that condition was known as the cardiac arrhythmia, atrial flutter or atrial fibrosis, only due to myocardial infarction or the formations of the clot in the myocardium. If sudden that condition, so that was also treated with the help of the anticoagulant. So those drugs, so they can dissolve the clot in the myocardium. So due to that system, so these are employed for the treatment of the myocardial infarction. So anticoagulants, so they are also used for the treatment of the stroke. So already you know regarding the stroke, so due to any clot in the brain, okay, so if a clot here means, so the cerebral cortex send message to the thalamus, then thalamus send here, the thalamus is send message to the different parts of the brain, then only the different part of the brain can regulate the functions of the organs. For example, respirations. If any conditions, if for running you need the more respirations, more oxygen, so that can detected by the cerebral cortex. Send message to the medulla oblongata, so where the respiratory centers are present. So that impulses can reaches to the medulla oblongata from the cerebral cortex through a thalamus. If any clot in the thalamus part in any other part of the brain, so that message cannot reaches to the medulla oblongata. So due to not reaching these impulses, the medulla oblongata do not involved in the to fulfillment of the respiratory or to fulfillment of demand of the organ. So due to that the death can be occur suddenly, the failure of the respiration. So that condition was known as the stroke. Any clot in the brain, so that was responsible for the death or mortality or heart attack or many other disorders. So that condition was known as a stroke. The stroke is also treated so with the help of the anticoagulant. So that's why, so anticoagulants, so they are mainly inhibit the process of the coagulations by only two mechanisms. Some anticoagulants are there, so they are inhibit the activations of the coagulation factors like factor 12, 11, then 9, 8, 7 and 10 are factor 2, that is the fibrinogen. And some factors, some drugs are there, so they are inhibit the synthesis of the coagulation factors. Okay, by antagonizing the vitamin K. So already you know in the yesterday class, so vitamin K play important role in the biosynthesis of the coagulation factors. If vitamin K is more means, so more coagulation factor was formed. If the more coagulation factor activated means, the more blood clot can be formed. See, a certain anticoagulant drugs are there, so they are antagonize the activity of the vitamin K. So then, so they are inhibit the synthesis of the coagulation factors in the liver. So they are depending upon the vitamin K. So due to that, so they are lack of coagulation factor, the blood coagulation process do not occur. So that's why, so they are helpful for the treatment of the VTE, DVT, then PE, MI as well as the stroke. If any accidental injury occurs to your head means, you can visit the doctors. Otherwise, so that accident towards your head or any injury to the head, some clot is present in your brain. But that can dissolve because our body can having the natural anticoagulants, so they are present in our body secreted. If they are less, then that clot cannot be dissolved in the brain, that can deposited, that can accelerate the more clot, then only we are suffering from the stroke. If you are healthy, your system was active, then that clot was dissolved by natural anticoagulants, so they are secreted in our body or from the liver or from the tissues. Okay, so if they are fail means natural whatever present in our body, then only we are suffering from the VT, DVT, P, myocardial infarction and as well as stroke. So that's why, so here if any injury to head, immediately you can consult your doctors. You can go for the your any further treatment. Otherwise, so that clot can deposit in the brain. Anytime the death can be occurred due to that condition was known as a stroke. Stroke is the one of the dangerous disorders or diseases so that can causes the more mortality and as well as the morbidity, but that can be prevented so with the help of the today drugs or anticoagulants. So regarding the classifications, so here the anticoagulants, so they are mainly classified into three types, that is the oral anticoagulants and as well as the parenteral anticoagulants. So oral anticoagulants, once again, so they are sub classified into three types, that is type A, vitamin K inhibitors. Example is a warfarin, then dicumarol. So already you know, so vitamin K play important role in the synthesis of the factor 7, synthesis of the factor 9 and synthesis of the factor 10 and synthesis of the factor 2, that is the fibrinogen. And here the factor 7 in the intrinsic, not in the extrinsic pathway play important role in the activations of factor 10, and factor 9 in the intrinsic pathway it's play important role in the activations of factor 10, and factor 10 it's play important role in the activations of the prothrombin activator or formations of the thrombin. Okay, so that is role of the factor 10. So these all factors, so they are synthesized in the liver and their synthesis is mainly depending upon the vitamin K. And regarding factor 2, it is the fibrinogen. So that fibrinogen under the influence of the thrombin, it becomes the fibrin. So that fibrin undergo the structural changes, then it can form the blood clot. And lack of factor 2 also, the blood coagulation process do not occur. And these factor synthesis is mainly depending upon the vitamin K. And here the oral anticoagulant drugs like warfarin, dicumarol, so they are inhibit the vitamin K. So due to inhibitions of vitamin K, so these factors do not synthesize in our body. So due to lack of this factor or these factor, the blood coagulation process can be stopped. So due to that, so these are helpful for treatment of the DVT, PE or deep vein thrombosis or venous thrombosis or myocardial infarction, or they can prevent the coagulation disorders. So regarding B class, so that is the factor XA inhibitor. So already you know the factor 10, it can play important role in the activations of the prothrombin activator or formations of the thrombin. And lack of factor 10, then also the blood coagulation do not occur. If it is excess synthesized or activated means, so the more blood coagulations can be occurs. So that can respond to cause of the various disorders. So here the drugs like rivaroxaban, then apixaban, then as well as the edoxaban. So they are mainly inhibit the factor 10, then they are inhibit the blood coagulation. So due to this mechanism, so these are helpful used as a oral anticoagulants are helpful for the treatment of the various coagulation disorders. Then third one is that is a class C, that is a direct thrombin inhibitor. So these drugs directly they can inactivate the functions of the thrombin. So due to that, so these drugs they are helpful for to prevent the intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway as well as the common pathway of the blood coagulations, because where the thrombin steps was the main or commonly involved in the all the pathway. By use of these drugs like dabigatran, it directly inhibits thrombin, and lack of thrombin, the fibrinogen cannot be converted into fibrin. Then the blood clot cannot be formed. So like that, so these oral anticoagulant drug, few they are inhibit the biosynthesis by antagonize the activity of vitamin K, and some drugs so they inhibit the factor 10, they inhibit the blood coagulation, and dabigatran it can directly inhibit the thrombin. Due to that, they can slow down the or decrease the blood coagulation process. So that mechanism was helpful for treatment of the various disorders. So regarding class 2, so these drugs are known as the parenteral anticoagulants. It means so they are administered by parenteral route, okay, to control the access of the blood coagulations. So once again, so they are subclassified into two types. That is the indirect thrombin inhibitors. That is first is a unfractionated heparin. It is also known as the high molecular weight heparin. Then second class is a low molecular weight heparin. Example is a enoxaparin. It is commonly used in the nowadays for treatment of the head injury or to treat the stroke or to correct the or inhibit the blood coagulation process in the brain during the accident or in head injury. Then as well as the dalteparin. So regarding heparin derivatives, so this heparin, that is a high molecular weight heparin, it do not cross the blood brain barrier, but they are potently, so they inhibit the blood coagulation process. But so this high molecular weight they do not cross the blood brain barrier. So due to that reason, so if any head injuries are there or any clotting process occurs in the brain, so that was not treated with the help of the unfractionated heparins. But low molecular weight heparin like enoxaparin and dalteparin, so these drugs they can cross the blood brain barrier. So that's why, so these drugs are commonly used for treatment of the stroke, or you can commonly seen in the prescriptions. So where the head injuries are present during the accident or any other conditions. So for the doctors, so they administer the low molecular weight heparin like enoxaparin to avoid the blood coagulation process in the brain or head. So third is a, that is the fondaparinix. Example is a intraparinix. So they are indirectly, so they can alter the functions of the thrombin. Then class 2, that is the direct thrombin inhibitors like hirudin, liprudin, then argatobran. So these drugs directly antagonize the activity of thrombin. So due to that, so they are inhibit the blood coagulation process. So now we learn regarding the pharmacology of oral anticoagulants. So as the name indicates, so these drugs, so they are inhibit the blood coagulation process, but so they are administered by the oral route. Among these class, the warfarin is a first anticoagulant. It was discovered in the year 1951. Okay, so the warfarin is the first anticoagulant from the oral anticoagulant categories. It was discovered in the year 1951. So regarding the mechanism of oral anticoagulants, so here the warfarin, it mainly interfere the synthesis of the vitamin K dependent clotting factors in the liver like fibrinogen, then factor 7, factor 9 and factor 10. So lack of these factor, the blood coagulation process do not continue or do not begins. And warfarin, it also block the gamma carboxylations of glutamate residue in factor 2, factor 7 and factor 9 and factor 10. So here the gamma carboxylation process is required for the activation of these process, and activations of these factor is required for the blood coagulations. So here the warfarin, it can inactivate the activated blood coagulation factor by blocking the gamma carboxylations of glutamate residue. So those are present in the factor 2, factor 7, factor 9 and factor 10. So lack of activations of these factor due to blocking of gamma carboxylation process, the blood coagulation process cannot be continued. So due to that reason, the warfarin is commonly used for the treatment of the deep vein thrombosis as well as the many other disorder including the stroke. And so lack of these factors, the blood coagulation process cannot be complete. So regarding the other anticoagulants, that is the factor 10 inhibitors like rivaroxaban, then efexaban, then as well as the endoxaban. So those drugs, so they are inactivate the or inhibit the factor 10. And lack of factor 10, so that factor 2 cannot be forms like the thrombins. Okay, so as well as other class drug, that is the vitamin K antagonist like warfarin, it can inhibit the factor 7, then as well as 9 and 10 and that is the factor 2. So that's why, so these are helpful for treatment of or to avoid the blood coagulation process, both extrinsic pathway as well as the intrinsic pathway. So regarding the pharmacokinetics of oral anticoagulants, so that is the first drug, that is the warfarin. It is a vitamin K dependent factor inhibitor. Okay, it is not a prodrug. So this warfarin, it mainly metabolized in the liver in the presence of the cytochrome P2C9 enzymes. And warfarin, there is no need to adjust the dose during the renal. It means warfarin, it do not alter the functions of the kidney. Okay, and it is also not a dialysable. And warfarin, it can highly bind with the plasma proteins or tissue protein by irreversibly. And regarding the dabigatran, so this dabigatran is the direct thrombin inhibitor. It is a prodrug. When it is metabolized by esterase, it becomes the active forms. So that active forms of the dabigatran, that only shows the anticoagulant property, and such drugs are known as a prodrug. Prodrug means they do not have any pharmacological action when you administer. So when those drugs are metabolized in the liver or in the circulation, then only so the new drug was formed. So that new formed drug in the blood circulation in the body, it can shows the pharmacological action, and such drugs are known as a prodrug. And here from the oral anticoagulants, the dabigatran is only one drug, it is a prodrug. It is mainly directly inhibit the thrombin formations or thrombin activity. So this dabigatran, it mainly metabolized in the liver by esterase enzyme, and 80% of administered this drug that was excreted by a kidney. It means during the renal abnormal condition, the dose of dabigatran should be adjusted. Otherwise, it can once again it can causes the nephrotoxicity, or it indicates, so those people, so they are having the weak kidney function. So where you do not administer the dabigatran as a oral anticoagulants. Otherwise, it can alter the functions of the kidney, or it can further, it can damage the, or it can cause the nephrotoxicity of the kidney. If it is necessary means, so then you can reduce the dose, or you can adjust the dose during the nephrotoxicity or kidney failure. And it is also dialyzable, and it can bind to the protein factor, that is a tissue protein, by a reversible. Then other drugs like apixaban, then rivaroxaban, then edoxaban. So these drugs directly inhibit the factor 10, and these are not a prodrug. These are the active drug. These drug only when you administered, so those can show the pharmacological action. So these drugs, so they are mainly metabolized in the liver and excreted through urine. Regarding the apixaban, 25% of drug that was excreted through a urine. And regarding the rivaroxaban, it should be excreted 66%. Remaining should be feces. Then regarding the edoxaban, the 50% of the drug that was excreted through a kidney. So that's why from these drug, the apixaban, there is no need to adjust dose during the renal toxicity. But regarding the rivaroxaban, endoxaban, so there is need to adjust the dose during the nephrotoxicity or kidney problem or kidney failure. It indicates, so those drugs maximally excreted through a kidney when you administer during the kidney damage means there is need to decrease the administered dose, or you should be adjust the dose. And these drug is also bind to the tissue protein by a reversible. So regarding the further additional pharmacokinetics, so warfarin, the C maximum, C max is a, that is 2 to 6 hour when you are administered. It can shows the maximum effect up to 2 to 6 hours, and its T half is a about 42 hours, because it is highly protein bonding drug. 90% of the administered warfarin, it can bind with the plasma proteins. So those drugs, so they are bind with the plasma proteins, so those drugs are acts as the long acting. Okay, and those drugs, so they are bind to the tissue protein, so they are the more potent. So here the warfarin, the 90% of administered warfarin, it can bind with the plasma proteins. So that's why, so when you administer warfarin with the other protein binding drug, so there is a warfarin toxicity can be occurs. So where you can avoid the other drugs, so those drug is also bind with the plasma proteins, like a that is the hormones, estrogen, progesterone derivatives. So they are also bind to the plasma proteins. Or heparin, it is also bind to the plasma proteins. So where you do not administer along with the warfarin. And regarding volume distribution, it should be the 10 liter. Viability is the 99%. Administered warfarin, it is available for to shows the pharmacological actions. So regarding the dabigatrons, its Cmax is a 1 to 2 hours, and T half is a 12 to 14 hours. And regarding the protein binding, it only 38% it can bind with the that is the plasma proteins, and viability only 3 to 7%, because it is the prodrugs. Then regarding apixaban, the rivaroxaban, edoxaban, so their Cmax is 3 to 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, as well as the 1 to 2 hours. Then the maximum TF is a around 12 to 14 hours. Among these, the rivaroxaban is highly bind with the plasma proteins as compared to edoxaban, and apixaban, it 87% it can bind with the plasma proteins. And regarding the viability, the apixaban, the 50% viability is available, and regarding rivaroxaban, the 100% viability is available. The edoxaban, only 62% the viability of the drug is available for to show the pharmacological actions. So regarding the adverse drug reaction, so these drugs, they are mainly causes the hemorrhage, then as well as the bleeding, then in the brain and as well as the intestine. And regarding therapeutic uses, the oral anticoagulant, so they are mainly used for the treatment of the venous thrombosis and as well as the post-operative post-stroke patients, then unstable angina. So regarding parenteral, so where the heparin is the main drug used as the parenteral anticoagulant. So that heparin mechanism is, it can inhibit the synthesis of the thrombin, or indirectly it can activate the thrombin by activating the one factor that is known as the antithrombin 3 factors. So administered heparin, they are mainly activate the antithrombin 3 factors. So that factor, it can inhibit the activity of the thrombin, and heparin is also inhibit the activations of factor 10 and factor 9. So regarding high molecular weight heparin, see they do not cross the blood-brain barrier, but the low molecular weight heparin, so they can cross the blood-brain barrier. So due to that, so they are helpful for the treatment of the deep vein thrombosis, or as well as, so they are helpful for treatment of the stroke. But high molecular weight heparin, they do not cross the placental barrier also. So that's why high molecular weight heparin, so they are safe during the pregnancy, because they do not cross the blood brain barrier, they do not cross the placental barrier. So that's why, so during the pregnancy you also administer the high molecular weight. But during the head injury, the high molecular weight heparin was fail, where you need to administer the low molecular weight heparin. So those drugs, they can cross the blood brain barrier. Regarding the ADR of, that is the parenteral anticoagulants, so they are mainly causes the bleeding, hypersensitivity reaction, even hair loss, that is the alopecia. Then even they alter the functions of the bone. So due to that, they can cause the osteoporosis. Then hypoaldosteronism, they can decrease the synthesis of the aldosterone. And regarding therapeutic uses, so they are used as a anticoagulants and helpful for treatment of the stroke, myocardial infarctions, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis. Regarding parenteral anticoagulants.